Hi, my name is Wes Pearson from the Australian Wine Research Institute, and today we're going to look at two simple and effective ways to add oxygen to a red wine ferment. Adding oxygen to a ferment has been shown to increase red fruit characters and decrease reductive aromas.
You might think that you are already aerating your ferments during the usual cap management steps, but research has clearly shown that little, if any, measurable oxygen actually enters the ferment when these practices are used. For example, traditional hand plunging of an active ferment results in very little dissolved oxygen. The system is saturated with CO2, which means very little oxygen from the air is incorporated during the plunging process. Similarly, with a straightforward pump over, little to no dissolved oxygen is being introduced. To get the benefits of adding oxygen to your ferments, you need to take a more active approach. So how do you go about doing this? The simplest way to get oxygen into red ferments is to use air. Most wineries will have an air compressor or cylinder, and to use this for adding oxygen to ferments, you will need to ensure the air is clean and the air quality is appropriate for adding to the ferment. And you will also need a centrifugal pump and a fitting that assists in getting air into the ferment. Note that monopumps are not suitable for aerating a ferment. When using a Venturi fitting, you only require a pump. When using an inline sparger or drop-in sparger, you will require both an air compressor or cylinder and a pump. The first option is to use a Venturi housing, which only requires a pump. The pump is important as you need to be able to create a pressure drop across the fitting for it to work well, and it's important that the pump is big enough to sustain that amount of back pressure. The way this works is that air gets drawn in during a pumping operation. The Venturi is placed on the delivery side of the pump. 80% of the work is done on the inlet side of the pump, so these types of fittings need to be positioned on the outlet or delivery side so that you don't affect the pump's performance or damage the pump. When you pump over the ferment, air is sucked in through the fitting inlet and mixes with the fermenting wine on its way to being returned to the tank. This provides optimal air draw through the Venturi. Placement or positioning of the Venturi is important, and having a non-return valve fitted might be required should you have a high head pressure or a big distance between the fitting and the top of the tank. The second option is to use an inline vortex sparger. This works by forcing air into a fitting which looks like this, which is placed on the delivery side of the pump. Air is attached to the fitting and turned on for a period of time during the pump over. The advantage of this device is that it isn't affected by head pressure and will be easier to estimate the amount of air that you add to your ferments. When using a drop-in sparger, a reasonable starting airflow rate to work from is 0.5 liters per minute per kiloliter of ferment volume. When using inline spargers, the airflow rate can be much higher, around 20 to 50 liters per minute or more, especially if the pump flow rate is high and the pump over time is short. Using a flow meter with a ball bearing indicator is a simple visual tool that will let you know that the device is working and will help to limit unnecessary and excessive use of air. A clear indication that you are getting air into the system can be seen here with the color change when the air is turned on. From our research, the ideal time to perform an aeration of the ferment is 24 hours after the ferment has commenced, and air can be introduced at every pump over until the ferment is 50% complete.
These are two low-cost, convenient ways of adding air to an active red ferment. If you have any questions, call our help desk or jump on the AWRI website.